You're probably getting the flavor that I've got a lot of scars from shame. I have enough scars from shame to put in a book, evidently. I got psychological scars. I got spiritual scars. If you need a scar, I got a scar. You can borrow one after the service, all right? I've got physical scars. My most prominent physical shame scar is this lump on the back of my hand. It's it's remnants of what they call a boxer's fracture. Any wild guesses how a fella ends up with a boxer's fracture? I hit a wall. Then I hit a door, both of which broke. So then I hit an old bookcase. I think that's what did my hand in. And I knew that next Sunday morning I was going to have to take the pulpit wearing a cast. And whenever you show up for the first time wearing a cast, what question do you get? What happened? And I thought, I am going to stand in front of those people completely naked, vulnerable, and exposed. They are going to see the real me. When I have to confess to them that I went into a fit of rage because my teenage daughter rolled her eyes at me. There will be no hiding who I am then. This lump, though, it set me on something of a quest. A quest to understand why I do what I do. Why do I have to break my hand on a wall? Why do I make decisions I make? Why do I choose things that are later going to hurt people, hurt myself, hurt my friends, family, hurt my God? Why do I make these decisions that later I'm going to regret making? And what I found was that the root of those decisions in my life has been consistently this voice called shame. And I knew that I couldn't just change my behavior. I knew that if I were going to kill the weed, so to speak, I'd have to get the root. So by example, when a teenage girl rolls her eyes at her dad, what is she telling her dad? Somebody said it. Where was that? You're an idiot. Okay? And my daughter is small. She's looking, and I just want you to hear her voice. Dude, you are an idiot. Now, that voice, that message from your daughter, regardless of how many times a day it happens, it's got to be something a grown man's going to have to deal with. But instead, inside of me, it wells up this defensive rage. So I have to ask myself, why am I so defensive right now? Why do I feel this way in my gut? Why is this happening to me? Why do I have to defend myself in front of this girl, my daughter? Why do I have to do this? But I feel like I do. And whenever somebody gets that defensive, this is something I learned from my wife. Anytime anybody gets that defensive, it's usually because they think maybe there's just some truth in what the accuser is saying. Maybe, just maybe, my daughter is right. I am an idiot. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. And she's discovered it. I actually don't know what I'm doing. We adopted these 4 kids, and I actually don't know how to parent. She's right. And I felt exposed. I felt found out. And when you feel found out, you lash out. That's what shame does. Because it wants to create a diversion. It wants to give you an escape path out of the situation you're in when you feel naked and feel shame. This quest I'm on matters to me, not just because of how it's affected me, but because it's how it's affected my whole family, my kids. This is a picture of my oldest daughter. Like I mentioned, we adopted her and her sisters and brother when they were in elementary school. And she brought to my attention one day when she was in elementary-ish, she announced to me that she was the ugly one. In a matter-of-fact way. in a way almost to acknowledge that maybe she won a prize. Hey, I'm the ugly one. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, compared to my sisters, I'm the ugly one because my lips are fatter, my nose is wider, my skin is darker, and my hair's kinkier. And I thought, who told you that? What? So I did what any narcissistic, overachieving male will do. I fixed it. I said, you're wrong. By the way, anytime a girl is struggling with shame, what she wants to hear most is that she's wrong too. I changed the name. I said, I'm going to start calling you beautiful from now on, just so you know how wrong you are. It's a name she now has. She got it tattooed on her arm now. But I'm no longer naive enough to think just because you write something on your skin that it's going to erase the script that's been handed to you your entire life. But I realize this lump on my hand reminds me I'm no different. I'm the exact same. That every day that girl's going to have to do battle with that voice in her head telling her she's the ugly one. That my little girl's going to have to wake up every day and fight that voice. And she's going to make decisions based on that voice. She's going to do things that voice is commanding her to do to fend out, to prove to the world she is not the ugly one. And I shudder to think of the choices a young girl's going to make when she thinks she's the ugly one. Choices that she's going to regret the rest of her life. The kind of choices an adult man is going to make when he thinks he's the idiot. Choices that insist I overcompensate. Choices that insist I overfunction. Choices that insist I fix everything. Choices that insist I always be right about everything. Choices that insist, you get the pattern here? How'd you like to be married to me? Somebody right now saying, I think I am. The man and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame. How's that even possible? And here's what's weird, okay, is this little one phrase passage shows up after 24 full verses of creation of all weird things. So we have just come through everything talking about what God put into creation, 24 chapters, and on and on and on and on. He put this, he put this, he put this, he put that. And we come screaming to a halt at the one thing God did not put there. And as we come screeching to a halt here, we're teetering right on the ledge in front of the fall. Almost as if it's a warning, a clue about how the worst decision in the history of the world is about to happen. The last word we hear right before the worst decision in history is shame.